Hello and welcome. I am your host, Grant Johnson from Red News, and I'm here to talk about the news for today. For today's podcast recording, I'm going to be talking about a recent statement made by the Swedish National Security Advisor, Henrik Landerhall. On August 14th, Henrik Landerhall was being interviewed by Swedish reporters about the recent rise of Korans being burnt in Stockholm and the violence that has broken out because of the desecration of the Quran. Henrik Landerholm had told reporters that Swedish businesses and citizens across the world should remain vigilant in case of any harassment due to the ongoing situation with Qurans being burnt in Stockholm that has sparked a major disliking of Sweden across the world and especially in the Middle East. To those who are not familiar what has been going on between Sweden and the Middle East recently, there have been Swedish citizens in Stockholm and across the country that have been burning Qurans, which are highly important in Islam. The Swedish government has, matter of fact, allowed Qurans being burnt in the country, which, because of the significance of Islam in the Middle East, the different countries in the Middle East have been protesting this whole situation, which not too long ago, the Swedish embassy in Iraq was attacked by protesters that want the Swedish embassy workers to be out of the embassy and potentially lose their lives due to the situation going on in Sweden. There are other countries in Europe that do have policies in place in order to keep the peace between religious groups. It does not seem anytime soon that this ongoing situation in Sweden does not show any signs of stopping and will likely remain a political issue in Sweden and other countries like Sweden for years to come. That will be all for today's podcast recording, but if you didn't already, follow the Red News Official Podcast. You can follow the Red News Official Podcast on platforms such as Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and other platforms where you can listen to the Red News Official Podcast. The Red News Official Podcast also has a Patreon so that you can help the Red News Official Podcast that way as well. You can interact with Red News on different social media platforms, including Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, Rumble, and Pinterest. For more Red News, you can go to the Red News official website where you can read up on news articles. Thank you for listening to the Red News Official Podcast. I am your host, Grant Johnson, and I will catch you in the next one.